tuned in to StarCHaser Central, a podcast about Charles Hampson music moments and everything in between. I'm Stick Braxton.
And I'm Mike D. Jackson.
What's up, man? How are you today?
I'm all right, man. Can't really complain. Nice day, nice weather. Haven't been outside yet, but after this, I'll be out there to enjoy a little bit of it. Well, how about yourself?
Same old man. Just here, off work, my favorite time of the day, and ready to review some more Charles Hampson, man.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me.
And today we have part of a series that people love. I've heard about it a lot. I don't think I've actually listened to this one before. I've listened to one of them, but not this one. We listened to Feel the Reaper.
Yes, sir. Feel the Reaper, which is part of a series, the Reaper series. There's Kill the Reaper, Fear the Reaper, but we're listening to Feel the Reaper. This tape, I believe, came out in 2016, March 2016. I did see on YouTube for the other two tapes, I guess they were recorded in 2015, but I believe they all came out around the same time. But they are part of a series. Give a shout out to Charles. He's the one that kind of recommended this to me, not for the podcast, but just for me to say, hey, I know I kind of know what your style is now, so check these out. Let me know what you think about them. So, of course, we'll get to the other ones soon enough, but right now we're checking out one of them. So,
Yeah. Like I said, I know that people often cite this as some of their favorite tapes. I don't know if you have the tidbits or the history behind it. Is this supposed to be in a certain order, or is this one you can kind of enjoy free willy?
I think I asked Charles about this. That is there a certain order? Because he told me to check out these and also Unforgiven. I don't believe Unforgiven's like with this series, but just they're around they're along the same vein. You know,
Mm.
so I believe there probably is a certain way to listen to it. I've listened to all three of them, but that's up for Charles to let us know. Like, hey, you probably should listen to these in a certain order. But for me, I have listened to all of them at least once, but I'm not sure exactly what the actual order is. If I was to guess, I would say fear, kill, feel, but I don't know
Okay.
personally.
Like I said, this is my first time actually. I thought I'd listened to them all, but I think the one I had maybe was Fear the Reaper. Maybe it was either Fear or Kill that I listened to for sure. But never got around to Feel the Reaper. So this was the first time listen for me. But what about you? How was your first listen to this tape?
So I can remember it was some months ago. I listened to this when I had a conversation with Charles about it. Because he was very specific, like, hey, I know you don't smoke, you're more of a drinker, so check this out, and let me know how you feel about it, while you drink. I feel like I might have listened to this previously before, maybe when it first came out, but never really got to like get a full listen to it. But from the first time I heard it, I was like, okay, well, okay, I kind of see what Charles is talking about, just because maybe there's some projects that we've talked about it before that maybe I can't get into, or maybe I don't like as much just because I'm not of the herbal essence
Mhm.
of a listener. But for me, I'm like, okay, well, I kind of see maybe where he's going with this type of stuff. So
Well, I mean, like I said, let's get right into it, man. We're gonna do our favorite tracks, our favorite three tracks, and then we'll kind of discuss from there. Would you like to go first?
sure, why not? All right. So my favorite three from this project, I'll go by the names of the tracks and then I'll explain. So I would say three sixes,
Hmm.
pair of dice,
Hmm.
and then refined behavior. So for three sixes, um, getting to the song, this is like the fourth song in the tape. Yeah, about the fourth song on the tape. Has like an upbeat tempo, like a dancey vibe to it. Charles has a nice flow, catchy hook in there. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like a party song or whatnot, but from what it sounds like, I'm like, I feel like they were trying to do something like that, something to get people a little bit upbeat, because some of the songs before that wasn't really that vibe. So when I first heard that, it just sparked my ears a little bit, like, okay, all right. With Paradise, I feel like I've definitely heard this one before because for some reason I always wanted to call it Lightworks because of the sample.
Hmm.
So with the sample, I remember hearing that before. I'm like, unless Charles sampled this before, but I don't think so. I'm pretty sure I just heard it before.
Yeah.
Maybe when this project came out, he was, promoting this a lot more. So with this, I was a little iffy on the beat because like when I first heard it came in, I'm like, hmm. But then when the beat actually comes in, Charles is rapping, I'm like, oh, okay, okay. Head bob movement, whatnot. Like I said, that's catchy too. The hook simple. I rolled my paradise and it brought me paradise. Paradise, paradise. That whole thing. So I like that. Sometimes simple is better. You don't have to overcomplicate it. No, no lyrical, miracle, spiritual. Doesn't have to be like that all the time. Verses are on point. The cadence is confident, and sound like Charles has some purpose on the song. So one thing I noticed with some of these songs, because this might have been when he had his second deal with Republic, because on some of these songs he mentions rapping right. And it's like,
Hmm.
what do you mean by rapping right? You know what I mean? So I'm thinking he's talking about actually writing stuff down. Because sometimes you hear play on words of, oh, I'm rapping left, now I'm rapping right, and I didn't write this because I'm rapping right. And it's like, okay, a little interesting. I'll talk about that later. Um, excuse me, refined behavior. I will say this might be my favorite song.
Okay.
First time hearing the project, I remember this definitely I replayed over and over. The beat, crazy. I love the beat. Great sample, great lyrics and hook. Charles kind of talks about, changing for the better. And like I said, this is why I think this is probably around the time of him having his second deal. Because he's talking about changing for the better, reflects on his past. At the same time, though, there's other situations going on around him. And we know it's easier said than done. It's not as easy as someone might think.
Hmm.
You might be in a better mind space, but you kind of might want to slip back into uh, your past you, and you're trying hard not to. But
Hmm.
Charles always talks about this, especially in his newer music. As long as he has a support and a StarCHaser, he's going to keep going. So keep going on the right path, up and up. So, but those would be my three favorites from this tape. How about you, Stick?
Let's talk about some more um other stuff you picked. Three sixes. Um I wrote down the three sixes and Summer's indictment. Both the flow reminded me of, and I think it's right around the same time, like right around the Republic deal. Of have you listened to the bike before?
Yeah,
It reminds me of that. It's that up tempo, that music's real up tempo, and the flow that he's using, it sounded very similar. So when I heard it, I was like, "Oh, I love the bite," and so when this came on, I was like, "Oh yeah, these are two very similar in vein songs." Um, it also kind of, and just now knowing how Hamilton Charles was and what the plan was for Republic, that going pop reference that we always kept hearing about. This I feel like this was kind of where he wanted to go with it. You know what I'm saying? That up tempo, high, high energy flow type rap. And I mean, it's a really good record, man. I mean, it's three sixes, and so that's kind of it's clearly had a dark message behind it. As far as like the titling, but I think that he was trying to combine those two things to create, a new genre as he often did. You know what I mean? And then you had mentioned Paradise. Paradise was a good record. The beat is fun. I think I'm pretty sure. I mean, you're a writer. You're a rapper too. You've done the Paradise flip before, right? At least once or twice.
more. I'm sure I have. If I haven't, it's somewhere. I've done at least once. Everyone has.
Yeah. There's just something to say about the simplicity. What is the word I'm trying to say? Simplicity. That's it. Simplicity. There's something about the simplicity about just like making that easy, like I forgot what the word is, maybe homophones, connection, and then just making a record off of that. It's something that anyone could have seen coming, but to make a good and listenable record off of it, that's typical Charles. And then refined behavior.
I've been in the streets, I can't let go. Mama, forgive me, I gotta get me. I've been in the streets, I can't let go. Mama, forgive me, I gotta get me. I've been in the streets, I can't let go. Mama, forgive me, I got to get but me. I feel a brand new oxygen. And a nigga get to the top again.
Yeah. When I was going through my list and doing the great, good, records, I went through everything and I was like, I got through 14. I was like, there's 15 records here. What am I missing? Got me to go back to refined behavior, and I was like, oh yeah, this is a really good record too. The production on here is amazing, by the way. Uh, Another one of those high. I don't know. I feel like. What do you think is his best production year? If you had to take a guess, because I was thinking about that after I listened to this tape and then some other tapes that we've listened to over the time. I was trying to figure out how I would rank his like best production eras.
If we were going by years, ah man, it seems a little unfair because of course, like I'd say a lot of stuff from between like 2017, 18, 19, 20 and up.
Mhm,
Some of that stuff like I might have heard a few things from, but I'm probably going to gravitate more to like what we've heard more. I'd probably
mhm,
say something between like that 2009, 2010 era. I'd say like was, best era of like production and recording,
mhm.
because since he put out so much in that time period, so much dropped 09, 2010, I'd probably say somewhere around that point in time would be his best. At the same time, though, like I said, take that with a grain of salt because once again, there's certain projects we haven't heard, or there's not as many projects. Like I said earlier, this is I think technically our first project we're doing from like that's dropped as considered like 2016 or something like that. We've jumped around doing the other projects, but I think this is our first time us recording about a 2016 project. If we're not talking about like an album or anything like that.
Yeah, when I heard this, I was like, huh, "This is if other tapes are like this, then I could see this being like one of the better, or maybe even like an underrated era of like what he was doing around this time." Because I feel like this time period, because he got back on that. He was starting to get help from like labels and like just getting his life back on track. I think that was kind of like a resurgence for him, and so it kind of it benefited and kind of aided in his music or whatever. Because there are a lot of tapes that from this era, like even maybe not the albums, but like Turn First and different things we listened to so far, where you can see like that shift from like that time period that maybe we weren't listening to as much stuff versus that time period when you finally made that flip where we're like, oh, this is actually really good music. We probably just didn't give enough time because we had been used to what was happening before. But
I
yeah.
Yeah, I think of course, it's one of those things where you always want to say, man, like, definitely wish I would have gave this more attention, more of this, more of that. At the same time, though, like, you can't fault yourself too much because whatever you heard in the past, and if it wasn't, something that you were, completely pleased with, you could have been like, all right, well, let me fall back. Like we said before, at a certain year, certain Star Chasers just completely fell off. And
Mhm.
some of us just stopped listening as much because it became a thing of like, man, there's just too much. I gotta like be a little bit more selective. So that's not really, our fault. It's more of a thing like, hey, it's a little bit of both. Where Charles
Mhm.
is putting out so much music that some of us weren't going to like everything. You're not going to bat 1,000, but at the same time with us, like us trying to be more careful with what we choose to listen to, so it's a give and take with that.
Yeah, that's a fact. Uh, so my favorites, that kinda made it easy. Now that you picked 360s, I don't have to pick that one. But I wanna make sure I get the full names of it because he has long titles and crap. Um, so first one is Athletics and Angels, Soul of the Game. Uh, I wanna make sure I get to Do It With Ma is my second, and then I Am a Six, Get Down are my 3 favorites.
All right.
I think all 3 of those are fantastic. S I think they're gonna slowly climb up in, like, my favorite tracks of all time because I don't know, it's the combination of the production, the sample usage, and just what he's able to do with the beats that was impressive to me. starting with Athletic and Angels. If you grew up, you know what I'm saying, during our era, we grew up in the golden age of Sports Center. Like the real Sports Center, not this new ESPN and whatever First Take where you just debate the same topic 5 days out the week. No, we were getting actual real sports analysts, real sports interview, like real stuff, man. You know what I'm talking about, man. Your
Yeah,
Stuart
I got
Scotts. Yeah, we had the real people, man. So they hear that old school theme song and the in the on the beat as a sample, and then just see what Charles did with it. Oh, it was crazy, bro. Like one of the best flips he's ever done to me personally. It also reminded me of, I don't know if you ever saw it. Remember Fred the Godson, rest his soul?
yeah, I'm familiar with him.
He did a freestyle that kind of sounded just like this beat, and it just reminded me of that, and it was just like, I don't know, that the connection of those two things was really dope for me, and I really like that one for sure. Do It With My is just, first of all, that title is crazy. I was struggling to figure out how to say it. For like without, I was like, "Oh, I like this song." But I was like, "I'm gonna have to say this on the pod." I have no, then I was had to listen to the song like, "Okay, that's what he's doing." This is definitely during his time where he's really getting to the Wicca and the heavy witchcraft or whatever. But just a very dope song. Smooth, kind of jazzy. And I want to hear Charles on more jazzy type records. I don't know if he has a project that's kind of that vibe, but I would love to hear more of that. And he really killed this one. Really dope record, really good hook, great verses. Um, yeah, it's just incredible.
Take me by surprise like I do every time I rhyme. Don't bite me, you might not like me. Don't bite me, you might not like me. Gotta admit there's not like me. That's just the magic lurking. That's just the moment working.
And then I'm a Six, my favorite song. It great again, great beat. He kills it, murders it. It's one of those funky records again. He does a great job with that. I don't know. It's just those three records. I don't even know how to really expound on it, but just the way he attacks those records is probably the best of the whole tape.
All right. So I had the same situation with Do It With Ma, because when I looked at it, I had it listed on one of my favorites, but I was like, I don't know if it's really cracking my top three. It's like
Mhm.
fourth. Like, if I'll say this, if you would have named one of mine, I would have been like, okay, I'll have this as an alternate, but it's definitely one of my top four. I think it just missed top three.
Yeah.
That song, dope sample, chill vibe, chill beat to it. Like I said, this song definitely, because I know he had a little monologue in the beginning about, kind of like the bigger you get, the more things get taken away from you, and that whole thing. Of course, when you're someone important, you got to make sure you keep your certain people, away from the drama that you might be in or that might surround you. And
Mhm.
you just got to make sure that you're safe and keep other people safe, because in the type of business that Charles has been in, it's not that he wants people to get hurt, but it's a shady business. No
Right.
pun on Eminem. But definitely I really rock with that song, especially that samples too, fire. With Athletics or Angels, as soon as I seen like the name of the title before I even heard the song, I'm like, baseball reference, you know what I mean? I'm thinking about the teams. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And then hearing the song, I'm like, beat's nice. And I think this is another thing where Charles a couple times on this tape, certain songs talk about, someone told me get a focus and I know this, that type of rhyme scheme.
Mhm.
And it's one of those things where normally I think when he says that, that's definitely when he has people telling him, yeah, you gotta write this out. Don't freestyle it. Even though I know on maybe one or two other songs, he talks to that, oh, I didn't write this, I freestyled it. I hope you like this. It reminds me of the Republic. It reminds me of some of the other tapes we talked about where he said that a lot too. I hope you like this. I hope that you like what I'm writing, or something along the lines of that.
Mhm.
Either way, um, I know it's rare, but sometimes we do hear Charles make sports references, or make some type of sports type of song where either there'll be certain sports bars in there, teams, whatever, like just
Mhm.
references to sports. And We don't always hear it, but it's always nice. It's always refreshing to hear it. I know he's not really into sports like that, but every now and again, it's just something different. Um, and then I Am a Six. We've talked about this before. Charles definitely loves Curtis Mayfield, and then he
Mhm.
chopped the hell out of that beat where it's just Curtis Mayfield saying, I am Curtis Mayfield.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I'll be honest about this one. I don't have a problem with the song because
Mhm.
he's spitting on the song, but it's one of those things I guess with the beat where it's not that he did a bad job with it. It's one of those things where Charles is known to chop up and flip sample anything. It's one of those things I think for me, it's kind of just like, we know you can do it. It's kind of like, should you? Not that you did a bad job of it, but it's one of those things like on paper, good idea, maybe for a song, maybe not the best beat for a song. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So, like I said, not a bad beat, but sometimes like there's been some times I've heard like Charles chop up something and it's like crazy chop up. And then when he gets put to a song, I'm like, for a song, I don't know if this is like the greatest for a song. It might just be better as just an instrumental or something like that.
Mhm.
Overall, though, like I said, he's still spitting. Chops are crazy. I think just together, I'm like, it's it's all right. I definitely like that song better than a couple other ones. So it's not like he did the worst job on that. But um, that's how I felt about those songs. But overall, good choices.
Yeah, I mean, and there was, like, other ones that I had in the good because I had Paradise and good as well. What do you think about the intro? Hush Hush Part 2.
So I'm not sure where Hush Hush Part One is from. I don't think it's from the actual Reaper series because, like I said,
Mhm.
I heard the other ones. So unless, like I said, because the thing when I first listened to all three of them is like within a night or two. But either
Mhm.
way, I'm not familiar with Hush Hush Part One. When I first heard this tape, first song that comes on, the beat's good, but not for me.
Yeah.
The lyrics didn't really invoke any emotion from me, so I just
Mhm.
listened to it. I'm like, all right. And I got a little worried because that's like I said when Charles referenced this to me saying, hey, check this out. And I'm like, hmm.
Yeah.
And I know he's gonna be like, oh, were you drinking? When you listen to it? It's like,
Right,
oh
yeah.
yeah, I was drinking. Trust me, I was drinking. When I listened to this. I listened to it sober, I listened to it drinking. I listened to it a couple times. Especially when I first listened to it. Like I said, first time I listened to it, I was coming home after, after some nights of drinking. And
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, let me check this out. And I'm like, man, we're not starting off good. I don't know. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where that song, Hush Hush Part Two, sounds like a freestyle. And
Okay.
it's the I think the common thing that I normally say where sometimes when Charles is freestyling, it'll be a good beat and he's rhyming, but like other than that, I'm like, all right, it's just I just hear him rapping. Like how people say some rappers rap or rap to rhyme words and that's it. Like that's what I feel like sometimes. On certain songs, Charles is just getting on there just to rap. And I'm like, okay. And I just take it for that. Not that it's bad. But I'm like, doesn't make me feel anything compared to the songs that I chose. The other songs, I felt like there's either substance or there's like maybe a story there. But with some of these other songs, it's like, all right, okay. What about you?
What do you think he suffers from the quote unquote the Eminem effect sometimes? Not early in, but like the latter half, second half of Eminem's career, where it's like we know you can rap, but it's like sometimes it seems like you're just rapping. You're showing us that you can rhyme words. Do you think he suffers from that sometimes?
No, I don't because two things. Being an Eminem fan, it's either two things. One, the first one is go back to drugs. Number one, I never tell anyone to
That
go
is
back to
wild.
drugs. Yeah, that's crazy. But people say, "Oh, you sounded better when you were on drugs and whatnot." It's like, no, that's not what that is.
No.
Even think about with Eminem, he had like a bunch of drama and problems. He was angry all the time.
Mhm.
Compared to like he got older, he mellowed out and chilled out. So if you're so used to like him talking about kidnapping, his baby mom and like slapping his mom and stuff like that, like that I think that's saying more about you than it's saying about Eminem. You know what I mean?
Right.
The second thing is, like you said, the later half of his career, it was more of, like I said, rappy, rap, trying to find out multi-syllables and trying to make certain words that don't rhyme, make them near rhyme, kind of
Mhm.
rhyme. And the best example I can give for that is Eminem on Big Sean's song No Favors. Big Sean had like a nice verse, and then all of a sudden Eminem went rappy rap on there. It's like the song didn't ask for that, man. If you did like a remix to that and that was it, separate, cool. But No, the song did not ask for that. With Charles, I think what it is, like I said, for my example of him, like I said, it's just him. It's just literally like what he does on live sometimes. Like he'll put a beat on, he'll make a beat, and then he'll just freestyle. Like sometimes we'll give him words to rap to, and
Hmm.
he's making that all connect, and it's cool for a freestyle. But when I'm listening to a project, I expect more. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
Charles talked about before, sometimes freestyle is just supposed to be for fun. So it is fun. At the same time though, most freestyles I don't go back to listen to unless you said some hard hitting stuff or something really crazy. I just don't go back to listen to them. That's just how I am as a person, like that's just how I am. So that's how I feel about it. I don't think he suffers from the Eminem thing. I think with him, he just really likes to rap a lot, and
Hmm.
it's more of just he likes to rap about his feelings and just have fun. And sometimes that translates to fun for him, but for the listener, sometimes it's just like that was cool. All right. Maybe if I was in the studio with him or we were in the studio with him while he did that and creating, it's
Hmm.
more of a fun thing. Like when we watch him on live, it's more of a fun atmosphere. But like when I'm just sitting there listening to it, and I don't see the magic being made. I also believe in the power of magic. But it's just for me, I'm like, all right, that's just it. So that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think he said that to us a couple times, whether on a live or like in like personal conversation where it's like he wishes that we were around for like certain creations or certain projects because to be in that atmosphere, it's a little bit different, you know? And, Charles uses the way Charles speaks is sometimes metaphorical, but I do think that being around somebody when they're creating is you get a different sense and feel of like what's going on and what's getting put into the music and what's getting put in the verses. So I can understand that. Also, just sidebar, I didn't mind the No Favors verse, by the way. I know that's a what's the word? Look, that's a controversial take. Sometimes I've seen people like, "Yo, why did he do that on that record?" It's like, it's all right, man. It's cool. It's fine. But I understand what you're saying too. It's like what Big Sean did on the verse is totally separate from what he did. It was a Detroit connection. That's really why this happened. But
Yeah.
M did was something totally different. It didn't match the energy. Is basically what I think we're saying.
Yeah, like I said, I don't mind it either. Like I said, if it was a separate thing or a remix, cool. But like I said, just I think he started talking about Trump and all this type of stuff. Big Sean was just talking about, yo, man, I did this on my own. I don't need no favors. I don't need nobody or whatever. You know what I mean? So don't come up to me when you need help. That's
Mhm.
what he's talking about. And then Eminem was like, all right, I got you. Fuck Trump, fuck the president, fuck this and that. It's like hey, man, that's not what we kind of went over, but all right, go off, I guess. But
Well, to be fair, it's better than an awfully hot coffee pot.
true.
So there is that. But yeah, I see what you're saying, man. I just there's always so much talk about Charles doing the freestyling thing, and on the lot like I said, on the lives it's fun because you can see the joy in his face when he does it. Like you can tell like he's really happy doing it, and we should want that, and we do want that, right?
Yeah.
But it's like as a project, you kind of want your songs or the tracks on the on the project to have some sort of direction. When on some of the older takes, when it was like so and so title freestyle, we're cool. We know exactly what we're about to get into. We're not expecting like a direction song. It's just he's about to rap for 2 minutes about whatever's in his mind, and we're good. There's no really high expectation of a song. Whereas, and he doesn't even do it that much anymore, where he'll put freestyle behind something. And so we're either left guessing if it's a freestyle. If it's not a freestyle, then we're like, well, now it just seems like you were just rapping to be rapping, and it feels like a freestyle. So it's one of those things where it's like you kind of have to. The way he rhymes is kind of will differentiate or dictate how you feel about whatever you're listening to. You know?
Yeah, overall. But I like I said, just for that first song, I was like, I don't
Yeah,
know, man.
yeah. I mean, it was okay for me. I didn't, nothing I'm gonna go back and listen to, but like to start the tape off, I was like, it's cool. Now, what are some of the tracks that you would like, or like you could do without?
So we just talked about it earlier. The first song, Hush Hush
Mhm.
Part 2. Wasn't feeling that one. Um, Second song, So Long, I wasn't really feeling either. So
Yeah,
I was 0 for 2 in the beginning. I'm like,
that's tough.
yeah, I'm like, all right, Charles, I don't know what's going on with this. You know, maybe this is not what you were. This is not the right tape you were supposed to, tell me. But
Mm,
after this, it got better. So I'm like, okay, I'm
mm,
vibing with that. So with So Long, Sample Flip was cool. It's better. I like it better than the first song. But I guess he had like a story about like the song and the hook was about like coming back to music because y'all been waiting for so long and he's coming
mhm.
back and he's about to just do what he has to do. Um, oh, he had a lyric. He says, I got a different way of writing songs in case you think my writing's wrong."
Mhm.
So, like I said, it's certain stuff like that where I'm like, all right, what are you trying to say? Because it's like we said earlier. Well, this sounds like a freestyle. It's a different way of writing. I'm writing in my head. Well, it sounds like a freestyle. Well, it's not. I'm writing in my head.
Yeah.
That's fine, but if I don't like it, I don't like it. You can't like you just instantly saying, "Oh, well, I wrote it in my head." If I like it, I like it. If I don't like it, then I don't like it. Just you saying that doesn't make well. Now that I know it's not a freestyle, I like it now. That's not like it's
It
just it's
it
a connection.
it sounds like a preemptive strike to kinda get ahead of, whatever people might have a feeling about it. I mean, his
Yeah,
his overall statement isn't wrong. Like, you can't tell him the way that he writes is wrong. He's right about that. That is a
yeah.
correct statement. However, you can't expect someone or expect people to be like, "Okay, with that being said, I'm gonna like the record." Like, you can't do that. So it's a push and pull.
Yeah. Overall, like I said, that one not really feeling as much. So first two songs, I was like, eh. Um, one song I did want to showcase was okay. So I'm gonna have to change the name of the song,
That's
but it's
the
the last.
Phoenix. The
It's the
Phoenix.
last song. You
Yep.
already know.
Uh-huh.
The Grape of
Yeah.
Phoenix.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
All right. So one thing I noticed was there's not a lot of comments on these new videos or but Charles left a comment on here basically saying the song is very left.
Mhm.
So like when I first seen that, and Charles left that comment, well, depending on when you guys see it, very recently.
Yeah.
So
A
I'm like,
month
oh,
ago.
so
Mhm.
so I was like, okay. So he said the song was very left. Um, here's my thing. I just don't get it. I'm not a fan of it, but I just don't get it. It's not even like a thing where like I think more of I really don't like the sample of the beat on there. So that's a hard battle. If you don't like a beat, what I mean, it might not matter what you're saying. But like just listening to the song, I was like, I don't get it. I don't get what's about. I
Mhm.
know the story of the Phoenix. I've also watched X-Men, Jean Grey and all that. And that might not be the real, Phoenix and all that, whatever. But if we are talking about Marvel, if anyone's played Marvel vs. Capcom 3, fuck Jean Grey, aka Phoenix. Somehow you get your max level, and if you die, you become Phoenix and spam everywhere. I don't like that anyway. So
Right.
just had to say that. But overall with that song, I just don't get it. If Charles maybe can explain it on like a blog post or on here in the comments, like exactly because he really didn't explain what the song was about. He mentioned a lyric from the song
Yeah.
and just say, hey, just let y'all know this is a very left song. And I think this is part of when Charles was still signed and trying to go as left as possible as he could, but it's also staying somewhat right.
Yeah.
But there's some songs where if he knew he could kind of dabble a little bit, and maybe it might be him doing his thing he normally does, where he has to be somewhat cryptic, so he can actually talk about what he wants to talk about
Mhm.
without upsetting newer fans or current fans. With me, I'm just more like I just don't get it, don't understand it. So, and that's one of those things where it's like, I don't get it, so I can't really enjoy it as much. So those are my three songs. I'm like, I just wasn't feeling.
Well, it's first off, I wanna just give my idea of what I think about the song, right? Or what I thought the song may be about.
Okay.
Since I'm not gonna say the full title, but like that of the Phoenix, right? The Phoenix is, it's a mulligan, basically. You die, you come back to the Phoenix, rise from the ashes, brings something back to life, right? Final Fantasy, if you have down party members and you use the Phoenix down, or you have a Phoenix GF, if you use it, your party will be brought back to life. That's just how it is. That's the whole meaning of it. Now, Charles's career at this before this point had been, let's just call it what we may call it, dead at that point. Wasn't at the levels that it used to be. We could kind of maybe look at that blank is done to force the re-rise of his career. I don't know if that's where he's trying to take the message. It's kind of hard. I don't know who the big she is in this situation. I assume it's God because of previous guys, woman, typical things, right? I don't know. I'm like you though. I don't understand it. Like I do think it's the weakest song on the tape. Something I definitely would never revisit. I don't think. Um, but the point of this song being a very left song, I wonder too, when you had mentioned earlier that he was saying, I'm rapping right. Is it him rapping writing down, or is it just mean he's trying to rap right instead of going left like he normally does? I'm wondering if that's really what he meant in that situation. When he's mentioning it during the songs, because we've seen it in Turn for Sessions, we've seen it in other albums where it's like, I'm really trying to stay at least in the middle, and trying to get that's as far as I can go. But I still have moments where I really want to go this way. You know what I mean?
Right. I think so. Like, I think it could be both. Like
Yeah.
blurring the lines, wanting to rap right because it's a much better listen for the viewers and the listeners. He wants to rap right, like writing, because of course that's kind of what the listeners want. At the same
Mhm.
time, though, he still wants to make sure that he's enjoying the music himself. Like, I think with him, obviously, he's probably got to a point where it's like, oh, just writing all the time. That's just not what I want to do. I want to just incorporate different things. And also, it's one of those things where it's very tricky to tackle left topics and find that niche audience because
Mhm.
not everyone is used to that type of talk. Not everyone wants to talk about that. No, some people don't want to listen to it. One thing that's crazy, you mentioned the Final Fantasy thing because I can't remember which song, but some song on this tape he did mention RPGs and Final Fantasy.
Mhm.
He mentioned that, and the Phoenix Down thing that does sound like an idea like that. That could be pretty um instrumental to this song, the Phoenix song.
Mhm.
And I have to remind y'all because Final Fantasy VI, one of the greatest Final Fantasies of all time. When you had to fight the Phantom Train, don't know who ever thought of this, but you're fighting a bunch of ghosts. You could fight that battle as long as you want, but you can literally just give it a Phoenix down. Fight's over.
Yep.
I don't know who came up with that idea. I was using Saban to suplex the train. You're picking up a train and slamming it upside down. That's wild. But that's Final Fantasy VI for you in a nutshell. But um, the Phoenix Down thing that does sound like an actual idea because a lot of times some people or some ideas die a horrible death,
Mhm.
very gruesome, brutal, and then they get brought back to life, or maybe they have some type of great afterlife, and it's kind of like a martyr for the game or whatever you want to call it. So it could be that. At the same time, though, like we could both be completely wrong, and he's just like, I just want to talk about something left, something that I experienced or
Yeah.
something I've seen in this industry. Because there's a couple of songs. One here, he talks about um oh, something else, minding my business. He said that a couple songs. Said that on a couple songs,
This
minding my
era, man.
business.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's one of those things where him wanting to maybe talk about stuff that maybe happened this go around. That he's like, man, I really got to just like head down and grind because just it's too much around here going on, and I want to talk about it at the same time. You can't say too much. You know.
Yeah. That's true, man. As far as I go, obviously that song is also on my list of right. Um, you also had So Long on there, so that was the second one for me too. But I'll name the two other ones that I had on the list. Sonic or Mom.
All right.
I felt like I wanted to like it, and I listened to it a few times. One time I went back to back to see, you know, and I was like, it's cool. The beat's all right, but it's just I wasn't feeling the. I don't know. It didn't really invoke anything. It didn't really bring out any type of emotion in me as far as like wanting to listen to it like again or like further times afterwards. Um, it was cool, just nothing mind blowing. You know what I mean? And then On My Own. I actually it's one of those things, you know how, like, you'll listen to a tape and you get caught doing something, and then you'll be like, "Oh, I'm on track 12." And so you're listening, then you get to track 13, but you don't know you're on track 13, and then you look up and you're like, "Oh, it's track 14." That's what On My Own was for me. It's
Okay.
on here, and I know I heard it, but I was like, "I can't tell you how it sounds right now." And then when I went back to listen to it, I was like, "Eh." I can see how it just slipped past and just like, eh, you know what I mean? I think that's kinda I wanna say that's before I wanna say that's before Summer's Indictment? Yeah. So
Yeah.
when Summer's Indictment came on and that upbeat thing came on, that flow came back, I was like, "Ooh, I'm back in it," right? So, yeah, I think it might just be bad sequencing as far as, like, that sandwich between I Am a Six, which I love, and Summer's Indictment, what I love, and then there's On My Own, you know what I mean? So, yeah, those would be the ones that I would say, like, I could do without. This could easily be a 10-track album, and I'd be fine.
I can see that because it's crazy. The other ones, I want to say the other Reaper series, they didn't have like 15. They're about like 9, 10, something like
Yeah.
that, you know? So, but of course, that's an artist thing where it's like, hey, I feel like this one, I want to create a little bit more on that one.
Mhm.
For Sonic or Mom, I do remember he made a comment about, oh, I got in arguing with my mom recently.
Yep.
I hate when it happens. And kind of like what I was just talking about earlier, it sounded like with this song, he was talking about, him getting back into the game and then him kind of questioning, man, should I really have done this? Because, he had this whole thing about going pop, but also like, hey, man, it's actually time for me to make money.
Mhm.
And Charles, of course, wants to, make money. He wants to do it the right way, but he doesn't want to sell his soul. He don't want to, go through any type of pitfalls, holes or anything like that some of his other peers have gone through. He's seen
Right.
it happen to other people before. It's like, yeah, that's not what I want to do. But at the same time, though, he has to focus on himself and get what he can get, and he
Yeah.
deserves. He has a certain price tag, and he deserves to make the type of money that he deserves to make. At the same time, you can't make that underground. You got to sign a contract. You got to play ball. Um, and I think maybe with that song, maybe you don't really hear it as much, but I feel like that was maybe him reflecting on maybe probably conversations with his mom, because I'm pretty sure they've gone back and forth with, if you're going to be doing this, you got to do it. At the same time, Charles is not really wanting to play ball how labels want him to.
Mhm.
And then I was okay with On My Own. Like I said, I really wasn't the biggest fan of the chops on I Am a Six. So I
Mhm.
went from that to On My Own. I was okay with it because I like
Yeah.
the beat and the flow. Um, he says on that song, he's minding his business, and it's one of those things with that song. I feel like with him, he's trying to mind his business at the same time. There's so many people around him that are into like all this like negativity that he's
Mhm.
like, man, I can't even really speak on them too much because I got my own issues to deal with. So I feel like that's what he was talking about with that song. But I was okay with that one. Like you said, you could have trimmed some songs off of this tape, and I think it would have been a better listen. Summer's Indictment, I think that should have been the last song. I was cool with that. So
Yeah.
like right when I heard Phoenix, I was like, man, that you could have just cut it off there and we straight. Not even because of the name of the song. Even if it was just called, the Phoenix, I
Yeah.
still would have been like, well, I think Summer's Indictment, because Summer's Indictment had like a disco vibe, a little
Yeah.
sunny feeling, dancey, had that summer type of feel to it. So I'm like, okay, cool. And kind of perfect for this type of weather we're having currently. So I'm like, all right, this I'm rocking with it. But overall, very understandable about why certain songs you like and certain songs you don't like. Seems a little divisive because we're going back and forth with certain songs we like and don't like. We like some of the same ones, some of the same ones we don't, but it's like one or two we're trading on. So I
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah, I don't know how we're supposed to feel after the listen to the tape. Like, we would like Summer's Indictment to end the tape, but Phoenix ends the tape, and Phoenix kinda ends it on, like, a downer, even though it's supposed to be about rising from the ashes. It's just that, we don't understand the song, so it feels dark. But are we supposed to feel like are we supposed to be in a dark mood? Are we like, I don't know. And so, like, ending it with Summer's Indictment would be great for us as a listen, but I don't know if ending it with Phoenix was the intent to be like, okay, bringing the mood all the way back down. I just don't know.
So what I think, because obviously the series is called the Reaper series. There's
Mhm,
Kill the Reaper, and what my thinking is, just when you just go off the names of the tapes themselves, like Kill the Reaper, that's like, okay, maybe you're going for revenge, you're angry,
mhm,
you're upset. Um, Fear, that's kind of like close to like kill. You might fear first because
mhm,
you're scared, you're worried, and then feel might be a thing. Like if we're supposed to feel the Reaper, maybe it's like, okay, what if we were the Reaper ourselves? You
mhm,
know, we're looking at it from the Reaper standpoint of like, okay, there's all this other stuff going on, but I got a job to do. I know y'all want to kill me, y'all fear me, but I'm just like y'all. I got a job to do. It's not the easiest job, but it's not what I want to do, but what I got to do. One of those type of things. So maybe with some of these songs that go left, it fits more on this tape because it's like, okay, like we're supposed to be in the shoes of the reaper, or we're supposed to be doing some type of reaping, and
mhm.
and not of benefits. So
Yeah, that could be it, man. It's an interesting take. The reaping is not a easy job. It's not a fun job, but someone has to do it. So that could be kind of where he's trying to take us, man. Um,
speaking of taking us, how do you feel about the cover? 'Cause I know I told you about there's like a different cover art, but for the original cover art that's on YouTube, because I'm assuming it's the Reaper, it's a skeleton in
yeah.
a jet pilot, like Top Gun type shit.
I mean, I like it. It's one of the better art pieces that he has as far as cover goes. Interesting that he is a jet pilot. I wonder what that has to do with anything. Because when I look at that, we're talking about reaping, I think of death. And when I think of death and then pilot, I think of like kamikaze pilots. So I don't know if that's kind of where we're going with that. But I think it looks dope. The alternate cover you sent me was interesting too. How do you feel about that one?
Pretty interesting. If you guys have never seen any of the alternate covers, I believe like if you just go online and like you could there's certain people that make alternate covers. Apparently Chris Rivera had made alternate covers for all of the Reaper series. So
Not
if
the
that
Chris.
is so yeah, if that is true, shout out to you, Chris. Um when I seen that, I've seen some of the other ones and the other ones, the alternates are pretty similar where it's like black and white, and like for that one is like I guess Charles was on stage at some point, whatever. I'm not sure when, but early in his career, black and white. It looked like he's about to throw the microphone down, or like he was just like head banging or something crazy like that, whatever. So pretty interesting. Um, I do want to say I think if you just look up like Charles Hampson alternate covers, something like that will pop up, and you'll see like just a collage of like alternate covers from different Star Chasers or
Yeah.
different fans and whatnot. That second one was pretty cool. I don't get like feel the Reaper vibes from the second cover, but it is a clean cover though. Like I
Yeah.
probably would have preferred that maybe for like a different tape, like the at least having like a skeleton on the primary. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
I kind of get that. Like it kind of makes sense somewhat. The other one is just like an alternate where if you're just like, hey, I just want like a cleaner cover, you know, a darker cover, then
Yeah.
I see that working.
Yeah. But we just listened to Feel the Reaper, man. Let us know what you're gonna give it as far as this review. Any pros, cons, and let us know what you're giving as far as rating, man.
All right. So for this tape, Feel the Reaper, the first one that we have, covered until we review the other ones. Um, and who knows, by the time we put this out, we might even put another one out before this. So whatever. Um, how I feel about it. There's definitely some songs I like on here. Definitely some songs that I would replay. Definitely
Mhm.
songs I would go back to. Um, there's some songs where I'm like I said, the last one, the Phoenix, I'm not really understanding of. Some other songs where I'm like, just not vibing with as much. So
Mhm.
if I go through like my list, because I wrote stuff for everything. It's like
Okay.
some songs I didn't like, and then it goes up to a song I like, a couple songs I like, then maybe a song I'm like, eh. So it's actually I guess you say like an airplane ride. There could be turbulence. It could be you're going up, you're going down. You know what I mean? Didn't crash. You know what I mean? But it was definitely a bumpy ride listening to this tape.
Mhm.
Overall, I would say I liked it, but reminds me of our good friend Knuckles. So I'm gonna give this a Knuckles rating, where maybe two songs I didn't like, then another song I like, another song I
Mhm.
like, another song I like, next song, then maybe next song I like. So like it was very, very, very turbulent, very, very much turbulent that I feel. So overall Knuckles rating. Overall good tape, but very bumpy ride. Like you said, if we trim some songs off, I think it would have bumped it up a little bit more.
I got you. Uh, as yeah, someone who never heard this tape before, I was very pleasantly surprised what I got. Um, like I said, I do think editing could have helped. I think if you take maybe 4 songs off, maybe you make it just a 11 tape album or project. I think it's really really good. Um, but with what we got, it's good. I'm definitely adding. I think at least 5 songs to my playlist, maybe 6 if I'm feeling froggy one day. Great production. He does a really good job there. Um, on the songs that actually feel like songs versus freestyles or whatever, I think he does a great job on those. Great flips on here. He sounds good on these. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you'll have a we there's this balance where the production will sound great, but he doesn't sound great per se, or like he sounds like maybe nasally, or he just sounds like lethargic or whatever. But here he sounds very full of life, full of energy, and it kind of matches with the beat and what's going on at the time. So I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm really shocked that I'm doing this because it's not Tails because it's not underrated. Too many people talk about it, so it's a Sonic one for me, man. Bass Sonic. It's a based
All
on it
right.
tape. Yeah, I'm very shocked. I didn't think I was gonna go into that saying that, but yeah, it's with the amount that I'm taking away and just the amount that I thought were actually good songs. I can't go any lower than that, man. So yeah, based on it for sure.
Understandable. I think I had this rated a little bit higher when like I was listening to it the first couple times, but me listening to it again, I was like, I don't
Yeah.
know, man. Like it's a little different for me. But like I said, I still do like the tape though. Like I said,
Mm,
from what I've heard, definitely some songs I want to go back and listen to. And also I think I might listen to it again, um have a couple of drinks and then be like, okay, let me, because we talked about before, in case we ever decide, hey, we want to re-rank some songs or re-rank some projects, we can
mhm.
always do that. But I think for right now, I'm 10 toes down. I'm standing on business. I got my rating. You got yours. So
Yeah. But let us know what you guys think, man. Feel the Reaper. Part of the Reaper series. How do you feel about it? What did you rate it? Let us know what you feel about the Reaper series overall. I know we're gonna review the other ones eventually. But for now, let us know about that. And you be sure to go to YouTube, subscribe, StarCHaser Central, I'm right. Star CH. No, am I right?
that's for Twitter.
Twitter is what? Star CH Central.
Yep.
Okay, that's for Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. But individual pages, I may stick around 54 on Twitter and Instagram. That's STIK around 54. Mike, where can they find you, buddy?
On Instagram, the Mike Jackson, Mike Jackson on Twitter, because I don't call it X. I don't. Why would I do that? You get it? You get the anyway.
Yeah.
On Twitter, Mike D Jackson, Mike D Jackson, 1D, 2 E's. Make sure you guys are also following Charles on Twitter, not X, at Charles Hamilton. Make sure you are subscribed to him on his YouTube, The Talented Mr. Hamilton, where he has his lives normally every week and he drops a new song here and there.
Mhm.
Also, make sure you guys are following and looking at his blog, enterthehamilton.blogspot.com. I want to say that's it. Yeah,
Mm.
that's it. That's it.
You don't call it X, but do you call your ex?
Fuck no. Um, I'm not going to get into that. No, I don't. Last time she called me, um, basically hung up on her. Let's just say that.
Dang, you banged it on her, bro.
You know what's weird about that? I forget who it was. One of the Star Chasers said, "Yo, what does that mean to bang on somebody?" I'm like, "You never heard of that?" And I was like, bro, you just hang up on him. Well, why do you call it that? Because you
Yeah,
it is what it is. It is what it
yeah.
is.
Just roll with it. But let us know what you want us to review, man. Let us know which Reaper project to listen to next. Maybe we'll take a poll and see which one we want to listen to next, and we'll listen to you guys. Or tell us a new tape that you want us to listen to. 2020 or 2008, doesn't matter. Pick one in between. We're good. We want to listen to it. Mike, any last words before we leave the people?
Have any of you guys felt the Reaper? Have you felt it? Can you feel it, Mr. Krabs? Can you feel it? I'm sorry. I don't know. I want to know. I don't know if they felt it before. Sometimes you feel it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Well, that's it. That's all I got.
There's a lot of references in there. I feel like if you feel the Reaper, that's death. So I don't know if they want to really feel the Reaper.
Maybe. You never know. You
Mm.
never know, please.
But this is the end of the podcast, so maybe the Reaper touching the podcast. So we are logging out of the StarCHaser Central podcast, man, where we always encourage you to follow your dreams
And reach for the stars.
There's no